Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable Overcomers. I'm your host, Dorothy Odell, for this evening. Just want to give a shout out to the sponsor of today's show, which is Unstoppable Overcomers Productions. And they are launching a brand new program called Unlock Your Potential. It's a 7-week evolution program. So starting February 6th. So to get that information, just go to www.unstoppableovercomers.com/coach. So with that, though, I have the distinct pleasure of bringing Maria Reed to the show. Welcome, Maria. Hi. It never fails. As soon as we go to do something, that's when someone calls. Absolutely all the time.
I'm like, what?
Don't worry. It's awesome. And life happens, right? And that's what this show is. That's why we do it uncut, unedited, because life happens. And this is part of life.
Exactly.
So welcome to the show. I'm super excited. I've seen some of your work, but we won't talk about that. I want people to know exactly who you are. So for people who don't know who Maria Reed is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you. With that phone call, I'm clearly a military spouse, a mom, an entrepreneur, a television producer. I have like 9 million hats. I'm a new dog mom, got a little puppy downstairs. So I do a lot of different things, but I think as a military spouse, that's just kind of part of our DNA. We have to, it's just one of the things that we have, one of the many things that we have to do. But I guess I am best known for, if you will, I am a television producer of the TV show Moving with the Military, and I am also the host of the show. We honor military families with surprise home makeovers. So, shameless plug, if you know a family, veteran or military family that just has done really great things in the community or has an incredible story that you think we should all hear and know about, please visit the website. And there's a little box that says nominated deserving family. So
I love that. And then they can see it on VetStream TV, right?
Yes, all our episodes, I think the last 6 years, are all chronicled on vetstreamtv.com. And VetStream TV is a network that was started by a retired Marine. So I really love supporting them. Great bunch of guys that work really hard to share the stories of veterans. So it's a veteran and military connected content created by veterans and military connected people. So I think it's really positive.
I love that. It's funny because I had no idea who you were until on, social media is great because we have a mutual friend, Annette. Annette, hope I don't screw up her name, Weinberg.
Wettenberger.
There we go. Sorry. Yeah, sorry, Annette. Sorry, Annette. But anyways, Annette had reposted that you were on VetStream TV. And I'm like, what's VetStream TV? Like, we've been within the veteran space for the last 2 years here on Unstoppable Overcomers. And it's funny because I have 2 veterans myself. So I love the backdrop that I did this year for starting our 4th season. And so, I love serving the veteran community. We've done a lot of different things. And when I saw that your show, oh, my pleasure. When I saw your show, I'm like, I have to have this woman on here. Like, absolutely incredible. And then when I saw your show, I was just like, wait a minute. This is like, and back in the day when Ty Pennington was on, and I used to watch those makeover shows, and I'm like, that would be cool to do one day. And then I saw you with the military, and I was just like, how incredible is this? Like, this just adds to our military story. So thank you for agreeing to come on here, because I love supporting the military families, and I love what you do. So why start the show? What made you decide to start the show?
So, like I said, military spouses, we wear a million hats. And when I met my husband, who was in the Army, I was a television producer. It's what I did. It's what I'm trained to do. But then we had children and, Army life called. one of us had to stay home. We had to raise these children. I love them, but he was like, the Army's not going to care and the Army's not going to let me. So, sorry, not sorry. And I understood that, and I wanted to stay home. So I changed my career, and I actually became a television production teacher. So I taught it at the high school level, which was wonderful. I loved those kids. And then several years later, I really wanted to get back to what I was passionate about, which was telling the stories of military families and designing spaces. And how do I marry those two things together? And it actually happened in the classroom when I was talking with my students, that I constantly told them, you don't need big productions. You have a cell phone. You have, self broadcast capabilities. You don't need all this. So when I was telling them all of my concerns, wow, it's really expensive, and how am I going to broadcast? Oh, they took that perfect opportunity to just repeat right back to me everything I had been saying to them. And I was like, okay, touche.
I love that.
But they were right. I was thinking like a production company from, 20, 30 years ago, when you needed all of these things that you don't need today. Perfect example, this show. You don't need really large scale productions to be able to get your message out there, to be able to be seen, to be able to have your voice heard. So that's what I did. I said, we're just going to produce this. But with the production head that I have, I went to traditional television and was met with, oh, it's so very nice what you do, and please thank your husband for his service, but America's not interested in a show dedicated to military families. And I was just like, what? And then of course you get the, oh, it's not personal, it's business. I'm like, no, it's hella personal. I'm a military spouse of 20 years. We deal with families every day. It's very personal. So we said, we're just going to do it ourselves. And now we're in our 7th season. We've done incredibly well. I mean, more than 4 million people watch our show. So we are, what do I say? Kicking ass and taking names. We're just doing the things. So I'm really grateful for the support that we get from everyone who watches the show and believes in the mission. So, yeah.
I absolutely love that. It's always, there's 2 things that came to mind when you said that. Tell me I can't do it and watch me. Hold my beer. Watch me.
Girl, that's my mantra. That is my mantra. Hold my beer.
Hold my beer. Watch this.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that there's moments of freak out inside my head. They're like, how the hell am I going to do this? I have no idea. And then, because you're out here teaching and you're mentoring these people, and these people say to you, oh, wait a minute. Didn't you just tell me you can do this? And so I love that happened. And then the second thing is, let's give them something to talk about.
Yes.
Bonnie Raitt's song, Let's Give Them Something to Talk About, I swear is like one of my theme songs. Because like you tell me I can't do it, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And I may not know, but how it's going to happen, but it will evolve. Right. And yep. So thank you for saying that, and this is why I love the military families, because I feel like we're kindred spirits. I feel that, I kind of forgot, like I knew my uncle was in the armed forces, and I knew that he was stationed. So how, when he came home for Christmas, it was those special moments, but you kind of, when you're growing up with that as a niece, you're just kind of like, oh, okay. You're not really putting it together until 40 some odd years later. Then you connect back to the veteran space and you're like, oh shit, I could have been, how could I have supported him more back then? But that wasn't to be my story. And now that's why we're here shedding the light and helping other people do that now. So, I love that. It's a great reminder. God puts us in different places. We don't know what for. And it could be years, decades later that we find out what for.
Exactly.
Oh, wow. So do you have how does that work then? Do you have sponsors within that community? Like once you pick the family, how does it work?
Oh, girl. It's like, it feels like it's 9 million things in the air at the same time. Mm-hmm. Because we get thousands and thousands of requests for military families from very large scale projects, entire homes, to single rooms, to, my spouse is coming home and I'd love to honor him with a man cave space. So there's so many different requests. And number one, the hardest thing to do is pick, because I think every single military family is deserving. Let's start with that. but there is only so much funding. There is only so many places that we can, because it takes production dollars to do the show. So even though we may have everything for the makeover donated, I still need crew. And how do I get us there? And we were in Alaska not long ago honoring a military family. We're trying to get to Hawaii this year. Hawaii has had, just feels like disaster after disaster. So we want to be able to help over there, but there's so many costs involved, and it really becomes this giant puzzle of, okay, this family needs this. How can I get there? Do I have the funding? And we literally try and plan out a year ahead, which never works because something will happen. Well, we'll get a crisis call. And, a few years ago, a military family was watching their stuff light up on fire on television because they were doing a PCS move from California to Oklahoma. And their son was watching the news, saw a truck on fire and said, "Dad, I think that's our stuff." And the father's like, "What are you talking about?" And the little boy's pointing out the things in the room that hadn't been charred. And the father's like, that is our stuff. They lost everything. And some things are priceless. It doesn't matter if you give them a new room. There's just things they'll never be able to get back. So we really wanted to be able to support that family. And that came out of nowhere. So how do we get the funding, or how do we put it all together? I often say Avengers assemble. We need people to come together that believe in the cause, that say yes. But this year we've been very fortunate to have our title sponsor, which is New Res Military Lending. So it's a home mortgage company, and American Furniture Warehouse, which is our furniture sponsor. And we love them because that's obviously one of the biggest costs is all the stuff. How are we going to get it all in there? So we're really thankful that both of those partners have come on board to support the TV show, to support the mission, and more importantly, to support military families.
Right. Well, that's incredible. And so so you've been doing this for 25 years?
The total that I've been in television, I don't want to date myself, 30 years.
30 years. And the show started when?
7 years ago in 2016.
Oh, so not that long ago.
Nope.
And look what you've built, holy crap. And so how did you, because of course my mind always goes to the how to, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. That's how I operate. So how did you get your first sponsorships? You just put it out there and they said yes.
Well, the first was sweat equity in our own bank account. We were like, we're going to do this. And I hope this doesn't sound terrible, but I was so glad our first year my husband was deployed because he wasn't looking at the bank account. And I was like, I'm just going to be using our savings. I love you. Don't hate me, and I am so grateful that my husband is my biggest fan. Mm-hmm. He is so supportive. He wants me to be successful, but most importantly, he wants me to be happy. I've given up so much for his career. And now at his tail end, he's out in like 16, 18 months. He's super supportive. So we put in our own money. We're like, if we're going to ask, and I'm a firm believer of that, put your money where your mouth is. If I am going to ask people to believe in me, that what I'm doing, number one, I need a proof of concept. I've got to show them this is what I'm doing, and I'm going to fund it myself, which we did. And it was really hard. It was getting super creative with, how do I find pieces? Where can I go? How much can I spend? So I want to say our first episodes, I felt like just were the most, that creativity is the mother, or what is it? Necessity is the mother of invention.
Yes.
That you just come up with stuff. But as we kept doing it and sponsors and people were seeing it, we got more support. They're like, oh, okay, now I see what you're doing. This is what you're doing. Because at first they didn't understand it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was there's a lot of other TV shows that are dedicated to home makeovers. I said, actually, there's a whole network. There is a whole darn network that's dedicated to that. But I believe you can have McDonald's and Burger King right next to each other. You can have Walmart and Target. You can have the same businesses or similar businesses, but they're doing different things. They're supporting a different audience. And there wasn't anything that really supported the way we do just the military. Veterans and military community, in particular, active duty military. Nobody wanted to touch active duty military because there is a lot of red tape. a lot. So, it was just doing it. It was going, okay, I'm that leap of faith. I'm going to jump and go.
Thank you for sharing that, because right now there's somebody out there watching this like, okay, how did she do this though? Like seriously. And for people that are like, they've been in the trenches, and you're right, you have to go first, you have to lead from the front. And just like that's what the military does, they lead from the front, right? And so in our lives we're leading from the front, that if I want somebody to invest in me, I got to invest in me first. So that is so huge and so important. And thank you, because I've been dealing with that on this front, right?
Well, you just asked, how did I do it, or what did I do? Because to get down to nitty gritty details, cell phone.
Yeah.
Right. There's no need. So if anybody is watching and thinking about doing something, your cell phone's shooting 4K. Come on. There is no reason to have. Now, do we have different gear now? Absolutely. Do we still shoot on cell phones? Absolutely. But as you grow, you can add. But the key is to start. No time will ever be perfect. And I say that to people all the time. They're like, well, when was the best time? When did you do? You just have to start, because if you don't, you will be waiting forever for that perfect time, and that perfect time will never appear.
Love it. Yes. And I don't know what you, but that message has been nailed into me for the last 10 years. And each year it's like, it gets newly into here. Like I must have a very thick head, because it's just like when those moments, because I'm sure there's moments like, why am I doing this? I feel like giving up, I don't think I can do this one more day. This is just bullshit. I don't know what the next step is. I'm sure you've gotten into those moments. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. And then the next step is revealed. So you take that next step and that next step and that next step. And then you're helping military families. I didn't even think of the red tape of getting on with active duty people, like the red tape with that. I didn't even think of that.
It's active. Sorry, guys. I just knocked something over. Real life. It is harder for active duty military, and you would think they would want to support, but it becomes a lot. I think a lot of times they think I'm like 60 Minutes or CNN. I'm going to come in and uncover deep, dark secrets. And that's not what our show is about. Our show is a feel good story. We want to share the challenges, yes, but also the triumphs, and not bash the military. And I think that, 7 years in now, the military has realized that. But I love them, but they've literally stopped my production, and they're like, you can't do this. And I am in now thousands of dollars waiting for, them to get it together. I love you, Marine Corps, but the Marine Corps was the hardest one, to work with. No joke.
Well, that's funny. After being in several veteran organizations, I get it. The Marines are a different breed.
Yeah.
I love them. I love them.
I do too. And at the end of the day, it worked out. But there were just a lot more obstacles to go through. Especially, you don't want to be going through them when you're there for production. Like all of this, I thought had been handled before we even got on a plane.
Right.
And then we get on the plane, we get there, and they're like, no. I'm like, what do you mean no? Because every day is money. Every day I have crew, I have hotels, per diem, like all the things I have to pay. I'm like, so it became a little bit of a battle. But at the end of the day, we worked it out. And at the end of the day, the family was able to get what they needed. And I love that. That's the support is the most important thing for the families.
Absolutely. And I know you said that your husband is on full support. Does he intend, once he retires, to help you do more?
He does. So he is, they love seeing him. I swear, I say this all the time. Nobody cares about me. They only want to see you. You've got like a total fan club, and he does. And I love that for him. We're very different, because I do 90% of the work, and he's incredibly handy. Don't get me wrong. He does a lot of work, but he's like, so how am I going to fit in? What am I going to do exactly? I'm like, well, you're the veteran. So you taking the other veteran to go do stuff, hey, go out to a shooting range and, blow up some watermelons or, whatever, I'm down. And then of course, come and help. We don't agree on design choices. I will put that out there right now because we don't.
Right.
We're like opposite ends of the spectrum.
But at the end of the day, it's what's best for that family. I'm sure he agrees with that.
Yes, yes. I'll pick something and he'll, every time, it doesn't fail. It's not like he'll go, oh, that's good. I'll pick something, he'll go, really? And then I show him the vision or I draw it out. And some people are very visual, like me. I'm spatial. I don't have to see it all put together to know how I want it to go. I can see one piece and go, oh, yes. He'll look at that and go, well, how? So creating a plan, which he is incredibly good at. That's, he's a first sergeant. So he's, can see all the things, like how getting that plan put together, and I'm giving him the vision, that we work very well together. But if he could have everything, I see in the background, you are a Michigander or a U of M fan. My husband is Wolverine. He bleeds blue and yellow. Yes. He was so happy watching the national championship. So he would be your biggest fan because he is go blue all the way.
Well, maybe we'll have to have him on the show.
Absolutely.
Because, so there's so much going through my head right now. So yes, Michigan, my husband has been the biggest Michigan Wolverine fan ever, to the point where 6 years ago, we went to Dominican, and we got engaged then, and they were in a slump. Like they were in the worst slump ever. And he says to me, we're by the pool, and he says, I'm just going to go check the score. I'm like, no, don't. Please do not do it. He comes down. He's just, and I won't say what he was saying. And he's just like, I'm burning all of my Michigan stuff. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the man's wardrobe bleeds blue and yellow. Maize. It's not yellow. It's maize.
That's correct. Maize.
As a matter of fact, my brother's girlfriend at the time said, does he wear anything else other than Michigan stuff? No, he does not.
No.
At that time, no.
I bet you if I call my husband down to be the same.
He has other stuff, but he never wears it. Mm-hmm. So, he's just like, that's it. And I was like, oh, maybe I don't have to spend thousands of dollars a year on Michigan memorabilia. Maybe I'm done with this. No. So, to the point where when we got married, our wedding was Michigan themed.
Stop.
Seriously. Our wedding, our colors were blue and maize. I got the guys' ties. My flower girl had a bow tie, a Michigan bow tie. I could not for the life of me find a maize dress shirt. I went all over Michigan. I've been to Ann Arbor several times. I even went to their designer. Nobody has a maize dress shirt. I was just like, are you kidding me? I was in tears because this is what I wanted for him, right? Make a long story short, they turned out perfectly. Anyways, we did all that. And then they start on a winning streak and turned it around, right? Coach turned it on around. Now he's just like, he never gave up on them, but he was mad at them. And so this was the first year last year we went to our very first game. I've always wanted to take him to the stadium. He said, no, he's not into crowds. And then his buddy said, because I do a charity golf tournament every year in honor of my father for cancer. And his buddies came and he says, oh, by the way, you're coming with us to the October game. And I was just like, what? And I said, wait a minute, I've been wanting you to go for 7 years. And that is literally 2 weeks before our anniversary. And you're going with the guys. He was just like, we can go. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to go? And I'm like, pick it. I said, because we really haven't done a lot for our anniversary the last couple of years. So that's our anniversary gift. So we went, I don't know about if you've ever been to the U of M stadium, you're like this. Mm-hmm. You've got this much seating. And so we ended up getting up and leaving because we couldn't sit there anymore like this. My husband's 6'1". He can't sit in a little spot like that for that long. And anyways, but the atmosphere, you got to go for the atmosphere. You got to go. If you're a U of M fan, you just got to go and to see them win the actual championship. Like, we took the next day off and we ended up going to Michigan. We're in Windsor, Ontario, which is like 5 minutes from Detroit. Right. So we ended up going the next day and going over there, getting a championship shirt for him. try to get the hat. Long story there, didn't get the hat for our son, but anyways, yeah. So that's our Michigan story, and so I love that your husband is a Michigan fan, and this.
Oh, like tried and true. No waiver.
Well, okay, so I'm letting the cat out of the bag a little bit early, but at the end of February, we're doing a brand new show called The Boots Journey, Trauma to Triumph, all for military veterans and first responders.
Okay.
So it's going to be a brand new show, and I'm bringing in a co-host who is a Navy veteran, and she's a doctor, and we are going to just like we do honor our military on this show, but we're bringing it and we're stepping it to a whole new level. Like this, it's just like. Whew, it's wide open, like, and it's we keep partnering with different people, like different veteran organizations, and I had a call the other day with somebody. They say, Tony Robbins is the voice for leadership and personal development.
Mhm.
There is not a voice for veterans like the big Tony, like the Tony Robbins. So we're coming together, and collectively we're going to find a voice to be that spokesperson for the veteran community.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Much love, much luck for that. Love it.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a journey, you can attest to that. Like everything's a journey. Like I can't imagine being a military spouse. So so before you started the show back up, what was deployment like for you? Like when your husband's gone and like you gotta take care of the household, but what were some of the things that you went through as a military spouse?
Well, my very first deployment, I was pregnant. So it was at the very beginning of OIF-1. And I remember I thought he was getting out of the military. And he calls me and he's like, well, it's not going to kind of work out that way right now. I'm like, what do you mean? You should have a rental truck and your barracks should be packed. And, we're having it. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And he was like, well, I think you need to come up here. So I drove. I'm in Florida. He's in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I have zero knowledge, zero experience with anything in the military whatsoever. The only thing I ever knew was Top Gun and Fleet Week in Fort Lauderdale Beach. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening here. So I drove up there, and I remember pulling up and just seeing a sea of duffel bags, green duffel bags. This is when they were still they were in their deserts. So all these duffel bags and just soldiers everywhere, parade rest. And I'm like, what is happening? He walks over to the car, and I could see him. He's in military mode. I love you, but I'm going to tell you what you need to know and blah, blah, blah. And he tells me, we've been stop lost. I don't know what that is. This is 2000. When was our daughter born? This is 2003 Yes. I'm like trying to remember all the dates. Yes. The very beginning of 2003. There was none of this. There was no, smartphones. Mm-hmm. And he tells me we've been stop lost. I have to leave. I can't really tell you where I'm going. And I don't know if I'll be back.
Oh my gosh.
And I said, well, you need to come back. It's like, I don't even know. I feel like the genes of a military spouse just turned in because I didn't get emotional. I said, you need to come back. You're going to be a father. Mm-hmm. Here. Okay. He walked away. He goes, I've got to go with my soldiers. I left. He gave me an address. Here, you can write me letters. There's no emailing. You can write me letters. And I left. And when I got out of the parking lot, I just lost it because I didn't know what to do, who to turn to. I didn't know anything about FRGs. I wasn't connected to a military community. And I just literally turned around and drove back to Florida. And I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I was very fortunate that I had my family and that we had a remote FRG, if you will. We were able to call in and talk that way. And they gave me a lot of information. His captain's wife was so wonderful, always checking in on me. How's your pregnancy going? How are you doing? And I would get 5 or 6 letters in one day. Like I wouldn't get letters every day or, you know, because you never knew when they were coming. So he may have been writing for 2 months and then I'd get a stack.
Right.
And then I'd get them all at one time. So I always feel like it's a movie. Yes. And I'm not unique. This is just the life. Mm-hmm. And then I get a call. Well, actually, the craziest thing that happened was we were watching the news, and I recommend highly to any military spouse, don't watch the news, especially during a time of war. Don't watch the news. And we're witnessing all these things that are happening, and I'm freaking out. And on the news, they talk about an American soldier who threw a grenade into the tent of his own people. That was my husband's unit. And I was like, all I could remember was that captain's wife telling me, if he were to be killed in action, you won't receive a phone call. They will come to your door. And this is how it will, you know, chaplain, and they'll come in uniform. So when my phone rang, I felt relief. Mm-hmm. I was like, okay, it's okay. And the phone call was from the Pentagon saying that they were not injured in that situation. They were not involved in that, or my husband was not in that. And I just remember thinking, this is going to be my life because I have no idea when this war is going to end. Mm-hmm. That was 2003. Our daughter was born that September, and having a conversation with my daughter, she said, she's now 20. And she said, I feel like I've been at war. This is all we've known my whole life. Because 20 years. Yeah. And we've been in combat. So it's been a ride.
Wow. I'm getting like goosebumps as you're talking because I can like feel the emotion from that. Right. And September what, by the way?
She's September 3rd.
Oh, okay. I have my stepson's the 14th and my nephew's the 20th, I believe. So that's why I was just like, oh, what day? Not that it mattered, but just curious. Wow. You know, I couldn't imagine, you know, you're thinking he's coming home and then boom, nope. And 20 years later, he's still in.
Yeah, still in. And he came home 2 days. I remember he calls me from Ireland. I have no idea. And he calls me from Ireland. He goes, I'm coming home. Tell her to wait because she was due. And I said, you tell her to wait. And I put the phone on the belly and I'm like, have a conversation. I don't know what to tell you. And we were at the airport finally. And I see him coming, and I am just this giant belly waddle. Like, okay, I don't know how this is supposed to be. And the next day, we were in the hospital. And, you know, it was, you're in combat. You're in all these things. You have no time to decompress. By the way, let's go to the hospital. You're going to be a dad. Here's a kid. Okay. You know, and then a few months later, it's like back at it. So it's just been this cycle of go, go, go. I think he's ready to retire too now after 21 years 21 years, whereas he's like, I'm good. But then of course we get the news, our son has just enlisted, who is 19.
So what are those emotions like for you as a mom, knowing what you went through with your husband? Now you're going to go through it with your son.
It's very different. And I've heard that from people that it's different. I'm like, no, it's not. It's someone you love. No, it is very different as a mom. Totally different. And he didn't, you know, he's like his dad. He wasn't just gonna join the military. No, let's go get a special forces contract. Hey, let's do airborne. Let's do ranger school. And I'm like, oh my God, okay. Do you know what you're getting yourself into? But you know, I am proud of him because he is 19 and wants to serve his country. The truth is you don't see it much anymore. Mm-hmm. Even where we are in a town that is a military town. You would think the high schools are going to be kind of avenues and they're all military kids for the most part, somehow connected. They're all going to join. Nope. The retention rate and the recruitment rate is very low. So to see him wanting to join and serve his country, I'm super proud of him. But at the same time, I'm like a nail biter. Oh, what's happening?
Wow. Yeah, like I couldn't imagine. It's funny because we did a series with military spouses and I had the son who was also serving. So her husband served and the son served. And so I had her on to share what it was like for her. And he learned some things because he didn't realize that his mom actually was one of the very first ones that set up the program for spouses, because there was nothing in the barracks or whatever you want to call it at that time. So she was the one that did that. And I asked her, I'm like, what emotions do you have? And same thing with you, like, don't turn on the TV. She told her family when her husband was deployed around Christmas time, I will go to Christmas dinner, but you can't talk about it. Don't ask me how I'm feeling. Don't do this. Don't do that. Like, I will come, but you cannot, I don't even want you talking to the kids about it.
Yep.
And I was, and because I couldn't imagine, because not only do you have your anxiety and your thoughts are like, okay, yeah, my husband potentially can't come home or will never come home, but then having to deal with that and be okay. And then making sure the kids are okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And the worst thing is when your family and friends, and I was kind of okay with asking me the questions, but when people start getting, and it happens all the time, they start getting negative. How could you do this to your children? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what? You chose this life, and I can't believe you did that. And you took them away from their family. And I'm like, and I look back, those comments hurt, but my kids are strong. I want to say the F word. They're strong AF. And, they are resilient. They can figure it out. When my daughter went off to college, and she didn't like being a military kid, when she went off to college, she said, Mom, I'm so glad I was a military kid. And I'm shocked. I'm like, what? She said, I can do stuff. I can figure out problems. And these kids they can't figure it out. They're panicking. So, I think the best advice someone could give to a civilian friend or military family is to be supportive. Be supportive. Don't bring in all the negative. We already know it. We don't need to hear it again.
Exactly. And the other question I asked Carrie was, how was it any different from like having your spouse to your son? And she goes, oh, quite different, because he wanted to sign up for infantry. So she actually went into his captain's office and said to him, he is not to sign up for infantry. Sorry, I messed that up. Anyways, thank you. I had it right the first time. And she had a long conversation with his captain before he went and signed up. And I was just like, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And it's up to the child to make that decision. And I think the hardest thing as a parent is allowing your child to be all they want to be.
Our son went infantry. So there's that.
Oh, shit. I'll be praying for all of you.
Thank you. We tried, I'm like, cybersecurity, do you want to go? Nope. Why don't we jump out of perfectly good airplanes? And I'm like, okay. And like you said, you've got to let them do what they're going to do. This is his life. He's got to live it. He did for me what I asked him to do. And it's like, give college a try. And he did. He did a semester and he did great. And then he was just like, this isn't for me. At least it's not for me right now. It may be for me later, but this is what I want to do. So I am proud of him because he's serving. I don't want him to think ever, or any kid that joins, that we're not proud of them. We are very proud. We worry, especially as moms. We worry all the time. And now I feel like I've got not just my kid, but when I meet all his friends and the whole unit, and I'm like, oh gosh, you're like all my kids. How am I, how can I support you? How can I help you? That'll just be my innate go-to emotion.
Exactly. And I think the support systems, like you said, getting your support systems, like you've had your support system with your husband, and then it's going to transition again when he transitions out. And then when your son transitions in, oh my goodness.
But I feel like we can help them because we've done it for 20 plus years. That, when my son and I were talking about financial readiness, I'm like, okay, do you realize you have all these resources that are available to you and free on the installation? And even if you're not on the installation, there's so many that are available to you online. Utilize those resources to learn. I love video games. Don't sit in your room and play video games all day long. Take this time and learn so that when you transition out, you're ahead of the game. I don't know if he's going to go career or he's just going to do, 4, 6, 8, 10, who knows, however many years. But there are resources, and I say this to all service members as well as military spouses. There are resources out there for you, things that we did not have, but they're there now and available. So utilize them so you can learn.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And it's funny because a lot of the veteran community that I talk to, they're like, well, they didn't know about it, but they're out there. You just got to know about it. And so that's why I partner with a bunch of different, like, Antonio Johnson from Bright. He's got an app that shares everything, about the VA, the different things that you are entitled to and things like that. So,
I love that.
yeah, I'll send you the app, the link to the app. I'm on it as a yeah. I'll as an ally, I'm on it. So because I support what Antonio does. He's also in occupational therapy. So I'll definitely get you that information because knowledge is power and it's all there. But for some reason, it's not exactly readily available for our service members.
It feels like you got to do a little digging. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so it's funny because in networking over the last couple of years and finding these people, it's like it's like I'm the connector. Oh, you need this? Perfect. Go over here. You want mindful meditation? Carrie Stewart's your guy, who is a Gulf War veteran. So, yeah, it's just helping those who need it. And I love that. So yes, tell your husband thank you for his service. I always try and get that out there. And we'll have to definitely have him on the show, see his perspective. It'd be interesting.
I would love that. He's learning to, and I he'll probably hate me for saying this, but I feel like he's learning to talk to people because soldiers are very different. So sometimes when he's talking, even just trying to lay something out, I'm like, okay, we are military head all the way. Let's just break it down a little bit differently. So we did a couple of online things. We used to have, and he's funny. What I love about him is he's freaking hilarious. We used to have a show called Date Night DIY before he started deploying again. And we would do things together, and he's hilarious, but he does break it down like a soldier. Like, this is what you need to know, blah, 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 blah. So it's funny, but I think he'd love it.
That is hilarious because I work the opposite way. I have the big idea and I wish my husband could help me execute that because he is like that. He's very methodical and has to have the breakdown. He's not in the military, but if we could have like the duo, the husband and wife duo, I haven't given up hope. He has never been on a show that wants nothing to do with it, but supports me. Yeah. But I'm hoping one day he'll go, okay, what do I need to do? And then he'll break it down.
Yes. Yes, cross all the fingers. I hope he does. Just bring him on. It doesn't even become an option. Just bring him on one day. You see how that rolls? If I tell my husband anything Michigan, like, oh, he's like, I'm there. And he'll be head to toe, Michigan.
Oh, okay. Well, now that's interesting because I said to him, because I did a summit back before Veterans Day last year. And I said to him, I want to do a spouse summit. Will you come on? Like, will you do it with me? And he didn't say no. He looked at me and he said, I don't know.
Well, you didn't get a no. You didn't get a no. That's the most important part.
Exactly. And so now I'm just like, okay, he didn't say no. And so what's the next step? So I'm praying God give me the next step for that. And then, maybe if we do something around another, like you said, like the Michigan and have all the Michigan fans on and talk about that. Who knows?
Super happy. Yeah.
Who knows? Oh, wow. So what would you say, what would be the biggest tip you could give for a military spouse right now?
Be flexible, adaptable. No matter what you think your plans are, they're going to change 4, 5, 6 times, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I think flexibility is the hardest thing. We say we are, right? We're flexible. I'll roll with that. And then things change and it's hard. Change is hard. But I think being a military spouse, the biggest takeaway, the biggest key is to be flexible and to be understanding. Because sometimes, not that I'm difficult, come on, but sometimes we have a plan. we think things should go a certain way. It should look like this. My life should have looked like this. Well, okay, but it didn't. So are you going to harp on it, hate on it, be difficult about it? No. I think the best thing that my husband and I have is communication. We talk. And I tell him when, this really threw a monkey wrench. Not that he can change it, but I'm letting him know how I feel. And he's like, I understand that. But he's always said to me, this is the military life. And I think if you just really become more flexible, I think that is that'll be the easiest thing for your life. Like when we get orders, I don't immediately start looking at, houses and schools, because those orders could change 3 or 4 times before. So I've learned to just take a breath, be flexible, and how I feel is how my kids are going to feel, especially when they were little. So if I was upset about it, if I was talking negatively, that's what they're hearing. Yeah. And that's what they're going to become. So we never did that. We looked at everything as a journey, as an adventure, as a field trip, an opportunity to see something new, to learn something new, to live somewhere else. Many families don't get that. I looked at it as an opportunity, not as a negative. So be flexible, be open, and communicate. Those are the three tips that I would give them.
I love that. And what I'm hearing in all of that is expectations. Like, let go of the expectations, because the moment we have an expectation, we blow it up inside of our heads. We try to go to the, how to's, like what do I need to do? Like you said. And so I'm sure that, I don't know about you, but as a military spouse, the first thing probably for me is like, because I like getting all that, tell me the orders and then do it. But how many years was it in your marriage that you learned that, wait a minute, those can change, those orders can change, and allowing yourself to just let it go?
Year one.
Oh, that's good for you. Wow.
Immediately when he told me he was leaving, and I'm like, what do you mean you're leaving? You're supposed to be getting out of the military, and stop loss happened. It was immediate. There was no wait on that. And you just go, and the thing is, you can either feel helpless, like, what am I going to do? Or this is what I'm going to do. Okay, this is what's happening. And you can just take it and learn to work with it, as opposed to be paralyzed because of it.
Love that.
And that is something that I was just like, okay, I don't know what to do. I don't know how, but I guess I will learn as I go along. So, yeah.
I love that. Thank you for that advice and seeing that, because I'm like, and good for you though for recognizing immediately and that you knew that was life. And so I know a lot of people would go to the victim mentality, but you can't.
What's it gonna do? How's it gonna do anything?
Exactly.
It's not.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for that wisdom, because I know that part of that segment is going to definitely help some military families. So thank you. I wasn't sure that we would go into that, but it just led to that conversation. So obviously somebody must need to hear it. And that, I firm believer in that. So getting back to the show, what would you say is your favorite episode that you guys did? Favorite family?
I don't have a favorite. I'll be honest. Because every story was unique. Every makeover, everything we've done has had an incredible impact on my life, and I hope we've had an impact on theirs. We continue to talk from the very first makeover, Ricky and Brian, their very first makeover that we ever did. And I bet you if I walked into her house today, 7 years later, it would look exactly the same. She is that person. And they were just very kind and wonderful, and gave us this opportunity to share their story, which was, I thought I knew it until I started interviewing them. And I'm like, what? You can't make this stuff up. But I love them all, because every military family, even though we're all in this together, we're all military families, every story is unique. So we're not all the same. We all have different paths and different things happen. And I love them all. And I hope that that's not that blanket answer, but it's true. I do love them all. We're getting ready to do a makeover now in Dallas and another one in Houston. And then we leave for Colorado, and all these families that we've been talking to are just wonderful and so kind. And after we do the makeovers, they all say exactly the same thing. Okay, give me my marching orders. When do we help? What's the next
I love
step?
that.
Yes, they all want to get involved in the mission. It's like, how do I pay it forward now? We got this. How can we be involved in the next one? And I love that, because it really is not just about the family. It becomes about the community, both civilian and military. They both get involved.
Right.
I love it.
I absolutely love that. You know, it's like we have here in Canada Habitat for Humanity,
Yes.
which does like homes and that, and then that part of the requirement is that person has to help the next build. So I love that you have that in your community, because it just, I don't know about you, but giving back has always been my thing, and I get something out of it by doing that. So if anybody's in that situation there where they're like, woe is me, life sucks, whatever, get involved in something.
Get involved in something. And especially something that you have to use your hands. It is very different, because I love Habitat for Humanity. I love everything that they do. I've volunteered for them on multiple occasions. When you get your hands dirty, you really have a sense of being involved and vested in the project. Mm-hmm. And I love that. Even if it's, some people say all the time, I have no skills. I'm not a carpenter. I don't paint well. There's always something to do. There's boxes to lift, things to move around. And when you're together with this community of people that are all givers and doers, I mean, it changes the game. It changes the game for everyone involved, not just the family who's receiving the makeover, but everyone. Even the viewers say that. We try to get our viewers involved by asking them to vote on items that are going in the makeover. So when they actually watch the show, they're like, that's the lamp I picked, or I picked that carpet. Like they.
Oops. I'm sure Maria will come back here. Just lost internet here for a second. So I love that. Absolutely love that the community gets involved, and that is just so wonderful. Don't forget, guys, go to www.movingwiththemilitary.tv right now. Oh, good. You came back. Good. Yeah. I knew you would. I was just telling you people. No, that's okay. It happens. Like I said, it happens. I love that. I love that your viewers get involved, and I love that it's truly a community affair.
Yeah, it's the best part. That. It really is. From everyone, businesses, fire departments, police departments, schools, kids, just everybody wants to be a part to honor the family. So it's the best thing.
And how can people be a part of everything?
Just by going. Wow. Yes, go to movingwiththemilitary.tv. The number one, if you know of a deserving veteran or military family, nominate them. And then I also say this to military families: nominate yourself, because you may have just PCS to somewhere and you know no one. You're like, well, who's going to nominate me? No one knows my situation. It's okay to nominate yourself. There is nothing wrong with that. So do that. And if you are interested in volunteering or helping out, we work with the Inspire Up Foundation, which is a nonprofit. I had not told you this before. It's a nonprofit that I started with 3 other military spouses, and we support the military and veteran community as well as the first responder community. So people can go there. It's inspireupfoundation.org. They can make a donation. They can become part of the Giving Tuesday military movement, volunteer, become an ambassador. There are so many different ways. If you want to be, if we're coming to your area, or you want to know if we're coming to your area, you can always send us an email or reach out to us on social, and send a private message or a DM and say, hey, I'm in Colorado. Are you coming? And I'll tell you why yes, I am. And then I'll ask lots of questions. What skills do you have? Can you paint? If not, that's okay. Come on out. And we always have coffee and food and things. We want the community to be a part of it, but also for them to feel like they're being seen and heard.
I absolutely love that. And so on social media, it's moving with the family on all
Moving with the
social.
military.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry,
It's so
moving.
on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. It's all at Moving with the Military. And
Perfect.
come on over.
I love that. Okay, so we're going to take the last couple minutes here and we're going
Okay.
to switch to the fundamental section of the show. Kimberly, unfortunately, couldn't be here today, but that's okay. So, Maria, what three fundamentals do you have? So, fundamentals for those of you who are just tuning in for the first time. If Maria was to somehow be gone tomorrow, what are the three things that she would want you to know that she lived her life by? So, your three fundamentals.
Kindness, giving back. And I was trying to figure out how to write this concisely, but it didn't really come out concisely. It's three words, but mentorship, support, and belief. I think everyone needs somebody that supports them. And
Mm-hmm.
I am a firm believer of collaboration over competition. There is plenty of room for everyone. So when someone tells you or tells me, I'm thinking of trying this, instead of being the naysayer, oh gosh, that's going to cost you this much and you're not going to make it. They're going to figure that out. I'm like, I'm here to support you. How can I support you? So I want people to know that I've supported them in whatever it was that they wanted to do in their life. I always want to give back because at the end of the day, I love stuff. You can't take it with you. You know,
Exactly.
it
Yep.
is what we are able to give back to other people. That really is a measure of our character. And just freaking being a good human, just be nice, be kind. There's plenty of ugly in the world. We don't need to be it as well. So, if I would say those are the three words or mantras: to be a kind human, to give back to others, and to support others and mentor in what their goals in life are. Those would be my three.
Absolutely love all of that. Love,
Yay!
love, love all of that. I am see. There's a reason why we always connect with different people, and there was a time and a purpose and a plan for especially for this episode. So absolutely love it. Can't wait to be involved in one of your projects, and perhaps maybe we can have you come to Canada.
We would love to. We would love to. You never know. There's opportunities when we get. We've been talking about working with military from other countries, Canada, England, and seeing things from a different lens. South Korea. Um, there's so many different things that we've been wanting to do because I believe that we're all in ways, shapes or forms connected. My husband works with military from all different parts of the world. So, yes, my answer is yes. How do we get there? I don't know, but we'll figure it out.
We will figure it out, and that's funny because I've been doing a lot of work in the United States with the veterans and wanting to bring it here to Canada. So, how are different ways we can do that? And so 2024 was kind of bringing it here. I don't know how yet, but with everything that we've been doing, you're one of my pieces of the puzzle to help our Canadian military. So I love that. And
We'll
the
figure it
how-tos
out.
will come. The how-tos will
We'll
come.
get connected and we will figure this out.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for being here today, Maria. Like, wow. I just this whole episode has been absolutely amazing. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for what you do for military families.
Passion
Yeah,
project.
yes, passion project. A passion, the thing is impact and changing the world, and how are we going to do that? And that's why I love connecting with people that are like minded, that do the same thing. It might be different than how I do it, but the
Yeah.
end goal is still the same.
Yeah.
And so I absolutely love connecting with people that are like minded, like yourself, that are out there to change the world. So thank you for
We're the
being
best
here.
we can. Thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Don't forget, guys, go to movingwiththemilitary.tv right now and definitely pick your favorite veteran or favorite military person and have them have a makeover. And like you said, don't be shy if it's you that needs it. I know that a lot of the military do not like asking for help and
They
will help
don't.
everybody else. But now
Yep.
is your opportunity to say, wait a minute, me too. So
Yes.
now is your time to do that. So go today and fill that form out. And definitely, if you want to help Maria and her team in any way possible, definitely go there and say, yes, I want to help.
Yes.
So thank you for watching today, guys. Don't forget,
Thank
be
you.
unstoppable in all that you do, and same time, same channel next week.